Well folks, we finally did it. We found a world that has days that are genuinely, unapologetically impossible with my current setup. The Dark Ages is a world without hope or joy, only pain and suffering. But before we get into that, why don't you subscribe to show EA we want the laser beam as a class in Garden Warfare 3, voiced none other by me or Sylvester Stallone. We enter day 1 of Dark Ages, where we are introduced to the gimmick of this world, a distinct lack of sun. The only way to gather sun in this world, without my beloved Sunbean, would be to bust open these grave thingies. We don't unlock the Sunbean until day 6, so until then, we have to suffer and plant our beans wisely, so our beans bust open all the graves to give us some more sun. Overall, day 1 wasn't that big of a challenge surprisingly, since there seemed to be less zombies than what I'm used to. Moving on to day 2, we do a similar strategy. Bust open the graves with our bean sprout, and place as many as I possibly can, hoping they bust open more graves. Day 2 overall, once again, was pretty easy, but that's not going to last forever. Day 3, at first, was truly impossible. At least right now, since we don't have any sun-producing plants, and since there are no graves, we only have enough sun for one bean, which just isn't enough. So what I had to do here was clear the day normally, and then come back with the Sunbean once I unlock it. Days 4 to 6 were all pretty unremarkable, which I am very thankful for, since after day 6, I could finally unlock the Sunbean. The Sunbean is arguably one of the best sun-producing plants in the game, and he is one of my personal favourite beans. I mean, just look at this little guy. He's so dopey and looks like he's just been out on a mad one. How could you not love him? Unfortunately, obtaining this new bean lured me once again into a false sense of security. I had no clue what pain awaited me at this time. To test out my new benevolent companion, I went to day 3 once again to clear it with beans only, and I discovered exactly how this bean works. If a zombie consumes my bean, then the more health the zombie has, the more sun he will drop on his demise. For example, if a brown coat eats my Sunbean and then dies, he will only drop about 40 sun, and since the Sunbean costs about 50 to place, this means giving the Sunbean to a brown coat just isn't feasible and makes me a net loss of sun. But a buckethead zombie or a zombie with more health will drop sun in the hundreds, making the Sunbean arguably OP and one of the best sun producers in this game. However, this only applies in later parts of a day, since higher health zombies are more likely to spawn then, but at the very start of the day where you're dealing with mostly brown coats, it's pretty much near useless, which is a worry, but I'll worry about that later. We move on to day 7, where I once again test the Sunbean and how much sun these zombies drop. It's also here that I discover if you feed the Sunbean plant food, then not only will he drop more sun from any given zombie, but he will also smite the zombie with his powers given to him from the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant. Praise the sun. With this newfound bean power, I eventually managed to clear day 7. Day 8 was a day we had to clear with given plants, so we move on to day 9 where we are introduced to another gimmick of this world, meth pipes. When a zombie takes a hit, his power grows. At least I think it's meant to. My memory problems don't allow me to retain information for long. Before long, we complete day 9 with only a few attempts. From here, we move on to day 9 where we are introduced to zombies. The beans went down easy. Day 10 was yet another conveyor belt level, which was a pretty long one. I almost failed right at the very end, but Zeus, unlike anyone you've ever slept with, has returned for round 2. Well guys, we found it. The first of a few days that broke me. Day 11. This day must have been a callback to day 11 of Frostbite Caves, because this day committed domestic terrorism on my psyche. 2 hours I spent on this day, trying time and time again to get through it, studying it, learning the zombie spawn patterns and locations, and when I thought I was making progress in my knowledge and preparations, then the zombies just said, nah, fuck this, let's come from another lane. It doesn't help that we meet the Pope zombie in this day, whose special ability is to not eat any of my beans and to turn all of them into sheep. It's good to see a fellow Welshman in this game. I attempt time and time again, placing my beans in different locations, but to no avail. At one point I got so very, very close, but I got poped on. This level was one that I do believe was entirely possible to do with my current setup, but it's so heavily luck-based, I just had to keep gritting my teeth and trying. But one day, the stars aligned and I managed to complete day 11 with the help of the Zen Garden. Now, I know, you guys don't like the Zen Garden, but if this game is going to cheat by turning my beans into sheep and not giving me any sun, well, I'm gonna cheat right back. And if you don't like it, well, I challenge you to try this day with my setup and to not go insane. You won't, no balls. Day 12 was another tough day where we had to protect these shrooms from being eaten. The joy of these shrooms is they just disappear after a minute. So I had to keep refreshing their timer with all the plant food I was given. To be fair, this was a pretty fun day, and for once, the popes worked in my favour by turning these shrooms into sheep, giving me some more time. There was another obstacle on this day though, the Jonkler, a zombie who can reflect all projectiles, which usually isn't a problem since my laser beam can just shoot right through them. But these mushrooms were so hell-bent on offing themselves that the Jonkler actually became a bit of a problem. In the end, and after a few attempts, day 12 wasn't all too much hassle. In fact, I think it was pretty fun and fair, unlike the rest of this stupid fucking world. Day 13 was another conveyor belt level, and day 14 was also pretty chill since we had a lot of sun graves to produce sun, and day 15 was a prepare your defences level, so not even the Pope could penetrate my defences. However, day 16 was the actual first truly impossible day. At the start of day 16, we have 3 brown coat zombies in different lanes coming in, and since there would be no use giving them sunbeams since I would make a loss on sun, that means 3 lawnmowers automatically go right at the start of this day. This wouldn't usually be so bad because from here I can make some sun with the sunbeam and plant food I was given by a zombie who died to the mower, but it just isn't enough. Usually, the sun I'd be given here would be enough to deal with any regular zombie, but then we are introduced to yet another new zombie type, the British zombie, coming to colonise this day. The way this fucker works is he buffs any zombie in his vicinity by giving them a shiny new helmet, giving that zombie a hell of a lot more health. Even 2 of these new night zombies can overwhelm my bean sprout, so I have to take care and take the British down quick. However, 1 laser beam is not enough to take down the British monarchy, and I know that I don't have the sun for any more of these laser beams due to the fact I gotta leave 50 sun at all times for the next sunbeam. With this in mind, I've failed day 16 near enough every time at the start of the day. I am 110% convinced this day is completely impossible with my current setup due to the lack of sun in the early stages of the day. I was not able to take out the British zombie with anything other than launching a lawnmower at it. The furthest I got in this day normally was around the halfway point where I was feeling pretty confident at this time. Until I realised the Pope came in to join the party, allowing these 2 night zombies to just waltz right past. Here I came to the realisation once again, if this game was going to cheat me like that, then I was going to cheat right back. I came to an agreement with my Twitch chat that I was allowed to buy plant food just once at the start of this day for my sunbeam, to just give me enough sun to get started. And with this one tiny change and enough patience, I managed to technically beat day 16 with beans only. And if you don't like it, I once again dare you to try this day with my bean only setup. And yes, in my other attempts to beat this day, I may have accidentally leveled up the sunbeam by 1 level, which decreases the cooldown time by 1 whole second and changes nothing else. So I hope this one level 2 bean irritates you all as much as it irritated me. Now is also the time to mention, this whole world and future worlds are streamed over at twitch.tv/Whoie, so why don't you come on by to see my descent into madness. Moving on from that travesty, day 17 was a simple day, which was completed with ease considering how big my brain is. And day 18 was a day to complete with just given plants. So we move on to day 19. And once again, it is another day that is completely impossible with my usual setup for the same reasons as before. I just don't have enough sun in the early stages of this day. Even with plant fooding the sunbeam, it isn't enough. Usually letting a few lawnmowers go early is all part of the plan, but since a lot of zombies spawn in lanes where I need to protect these endangered plants, letting all 3 lawnmowers go just isn't an option since I can only let one go at a time. I didn't even have enough coins to keep attempting this day with feeding the Sunbean plant food because I spent all of my coins de-stressing on day 18 with Zeus. So I had to cave in. I realised this day was factually impossible with my current setup, so we had to go back to the drawing board. While brainstorming with chat, we had an idea. Why don't we bring in a brand new, never-before-seen bean? We came up with the bean flower, a bean that is also a flower. This special bean is only available in my very specific, very secret version of Plants vs Zombies 2, created by Andrew Wilson himself, in exchange for his freedom. With this bean flower, I finally managed to beat day 19 after a good couple of hours of attempts. The bean flower really carried here. Cheers, Andrew. Now give us Garden Warfare 3. After that disgraceful day, we move on to day 20, and it's just another conveyor belt Zomboss fight. After giving Dr. Zomboss a sad little pounding, the Dark Ages is done. 3 impossible days. Day 11, day 16, and day 19. And for the final time, to anyone that doubts me, I challenge you to go and try these days with my setup and you will go insane. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, but Whoie, if it's not possible to beat this game technically with only beans and no power-ups, then does that mean it's a challenge failed? Well, technically yes, but that doesn't mean I'm stopping yet. I'm having way too much fun making this content, so I will be continuing onwards to the next worlds, and I just want to see the dinosaurs in the Jurassic Marsh. I like the red one.